This is Jonas Werner, Solutions Architect for Nutanix Hybrid Multicloud, and going to go through a few details in regard to how to set up L2 extension, layer 2 extension between an on-prem environment, a VMware environment that we have set up here, and an NC2 or Nutanix Cloud Clusters on AWS environment. So in this setup, we essentially are connecting over a site-to-site VPN. Of course, you can use Direct Connect if you have that available. In the on-prem environment, we have a 10.42 network with vCenter on it. We're going to deploy a Cisco CSR1000V as an example, and we already have a network for the user VMs here, which is a 10.42.3 network. We are going to, on the cloud side, create that very same network, so a 10.42.3 network on the NC2 side, and we are then going to deploy a gateway appliance, and the gateway appliance will be set up. Basically, we're going to register the on-prem Cisco CSR into NC2, and we are then going to link this gateway appliance with the CSR so that we can do L2 extension in between. So the on-prem CSR1000V is going to be the VTEP for this setup. So let's kick off first of all just having a quick look at the on-prem vSphere environment. When I look at this this network that we have and the user VM that we have available, let's just start off doing that. This is the on-prem environment in vCenter, and as you can see here, we have a number of VLANs defined. The one that we want to extend is this one, the VLAN 423, and we have a VM attached to this at the moment. The main VLAN that we have is 420, which is the one that we're going to also connect the Cisco CSR appliance to for essentially the L3 connectivity is going to be done over the VLAN 420. So if we look at this guy as well in here, we can see it has an IP address of 10.42.3.99 in there. If you go to Prism Central, so this is NC2. Prism Central that is deployed in the Nutanix Cloud Clusters environment. In here, we are going to have a look. We're going to create a private cloud, a new VPC. And in that VPC, we're going to create that subnet that we had on-prem, the 10.42.3 subnet. Just do VPC. We're going to associate the current, like the default NAT subnet, and set that as the default gateway for all external traffic. And then we go to subnets, and in here we are going to create a new subnet. I'm going to get rid of these messages. And we pick our VPCC that we just created. We want to, of course, align with the on-prem addresses. So the one that we have here, if you go and look at that network, we have essentially that is the 10.42.3 network. So we just want to align with that. I'm going to create a DHCP pool for this. Also want to make sure that of course does not overlap with whatever we have on-prem. So right now that would be something like this. So there we now create that subnet. You can see that shows up in here. It's an overlay subnet, and it is the 10.42.3 subnet range or CIDR range for that. Now we also want to deploy the gateway appliance. So this gateway appliance that we have highlighted here. So we can easily do that through Prism Central. We go to connectivity, and in here we do a create gateway. We're going to create both a local and a remote, but we create the local first. The remote gateway will be the CSR1000V. So we give it a name, we do a VPC attachment, we select the VPCC that we created just now. For service, in this case, select VTEP. We auto set the floating IP. This is going to be taken from the overlay, from the underlay, from the VPC network that we have on AWS. So this is actually deploying a virtual machine in here. So you can see that that is now showing up in here. And that is still coming up. So we are also going to get an IP address in here on this network. Once we do the L2 extension, we're going to add an IP address which is going to have essentially a leg into the 10.42.3 network. But that's going to come up a little bit later on. If you go and look at the floating IPs for this, we can see that the VPCC, this one, the gateway, has a floating IP address set up here now. And this is part of the AWS CIDR range for that particular VPC that we're deploying this into. So that's that for the cloud side for the moment. Let's go ahead and deploy the Cisco CSR1000V in the on-prem VMware environment now. I'm going to set this to large. Now the first interface is going to be for our underlay, so the routable underlay that we have. The other ones, the other two interfaces on this, I'm going to both set those to the VLAN that we want to extend. So while we wait for this to deploy, let's go and have a look at the ESXi host and the networks that we got here. In this case, I'm actually using local standard V switches. I'm not using VDS for these. And let's go in and check basically the V switch that we've got this port group on, VLAN 423. We want to ensure that we have the settings for this for security, where we allow promiscuous mode and forced retransmits, so forced transmits as well on this. So those will be enabled on this. So that is now deployed. We're going to power this on. Looks like this is booted okay, hopefully. Let's have a quick look at it. So we have a 10.42.0.106 address on the underlay that we want to use to communicate with the cloud, and this is of course extended, or not extended, it's connected via site-to-site VPN then to AWS. We will just add a user. Enable SSH. Hopefully that will give us let's see if we can access this over SSH. So we're now extending the leg into the VLAN that we want to extend. So we can now see that we have one interface in here and one into this. Let's see. There we go. That is up now. Let's set a VNI for this. We can identify it with later on. Oh, and we're going to first find out what the IP is. We're going to set the ingress replication here to map to the gateway that we have in AWS. So if you go back and look at this, so right now we're configuring this. We want to have this pointing to the IP address of this gateway appliance on this 10.7.176 network. So we're going to add that ingress replication to point to that IP address. First of all, then of course we have to know what IP address is it that we're going to link that to. So let's go and have a look at that in NC2. So that IP address is here. So for the gateway 3 that we deployed, we got this IP address. Right. We also want to set a default route, so and that is the underlay default gateway that we are setting for this. So that's the way we have things set up at the moment. Now we will need to do the network extension from here. So as you can see, VPCC subnet 1 is not currently extended, but we have an option here to extend. We want to do that to a third-party data center. We have our VPCC that we are using. Oh, actually, we need to first add a remote gateway. So let's go and do that. Here, connectivity. We did the local already, so we do the remote now. We want to make sure we select VTAP for this, and the address is 106 I just used. That's going to be pretty quick to show up. So we have the remote gateway in there, so you can see 106. So now we can do the L2 extension. Subnets, extend, third-party data center. We want to select our CSR in there. VPC3, C in here. Now we want to add an address so we have a leg into this network. I'm going to use 3.3 for this. We set our VXLAN identifier to 4300. So we can now see our gateway has the 10.42.3.3 IP address in here. Wonder if we can actually ping that from on-prem. If we go and look at a VM that we have here, 42.3.99, let's just SSH to that, it's probably better. And as you can see, pinging the gateway IP address that it has on this extended subnet is working perfectly fine. So we've got about 5 millisec of latency in there. Now let's add, if we go back to this side here. So now we are pinging from the user VM to the gateway appliance where it had its leg into here. So basically this interface here is what we pinged just now. But let's ping from this VM to a VM in NC2 and see if that goes across this layer 2 extension okay as well. Okay, so let's give this guy a friend. We can migrate one of the VMs. For example, this guy, 004, is an IP address of 10.42.3.98. We just shift that across using move. So let's see, we can make this a bit larger. Okay. So here we have the NC2 and AWS environment, and we have the on-prem vSphere environment, both in there. So we create a new migration plan, give it a great name, migrate from on-prem vSphere to NC2. Select our cluster, our storage. We wanted the 004 VM. We want to attach that to VPC. That's the one we extended. So now the seeding of this VM has been done in the background, and we are ready to cut over. So now the migration is essentially finished. We can go to Prism Central, have a look at the VMs in here. You can see that this is 004 VM is now present in here. It has received a new IP address, and the reason is that in the current version we are not supporting bringing the IP from the on-prem VMware environment, but this will be added in an upcoming release in the near future. So let's see if we can ping this IP address. So 10.42.3.106. Really? And as you can see, we have no problems pinging the IP address of the VM that was transferred from the VM that is still on-prem. And that concludes our demo today. Thank you for watching. I hope that was useful.